Welcome back to Notes from the Pastor Cave. And we are ever so grateful to be able to be broadcasting to you. Once again, we have really struggled to get light into the room today because there's the remnants of a tropical storm are starting to, a former hurricane, now later on a tropical storm, now just a depression. But we are getting a chunk of that today and a big chunk of that tomorrow. But we've already had quite the rainstorm out there, and it's just a dark, dank day, and that's just the way that it is. So, but we are videoing anyways. Just a quick update. A while back, you may remember that as an official book geek, I was really excited to get these leather bookmarks, a couple of leather bookmarks, and they were really nice. And of course, they had that great leather smell to them. And they're now gone. They're now gone, and there are a couple of conclusions here. Number one, cats don't use bookmarks. This is easily provable. The cats don't use bookmarks. And number two, there's only one other person living in this house besides me. So, yeah, I think we know what happened to the leather bookmarks, all right? Regardless, we are on to Exodus chapter 32. And I mentioned last time, this is a really hard chapter to read because, it's not just a fail, it's a big fail. And I guess maybe some people are fascinated by, the coming of a train wreck. But it really, Exodus 32 just makes me want to kind of cringe. And, but, looking on the bright side, even after this horrible, horrible incident in which God's people betray God almost as much as you possibly can at this moment in time, even after that, God has mercy, God is gracious, and He allows His people to continue on their journey from bondage to freedom. And, that needs to be a great encouragement to all of us because chances are, and I can point to several, I've got some pretty dark chapters in my own story. But God has been faithful. God has been merciful. God has been gracious, and here I am. I'm still on my journey. So it's very much the same, and we always have to be careful, about judging these biblical characters too harshly, and then not really thinking about ourselves. Have to judge one against the other in light of the other. We just started in 32 last time around. And so an interesting thing happens right in verse 2, and this is the point at which the people come to Aaron and they say, "We're not sure what happened to old Moses. We think the old ticker gave out, and he's just never coming back again." So he says, "Make us gods who will go before us." Make us gods who will go before us. Don't pay any attention to that pillar of cloud and pillar of fire out there that just happens to be the representation of God for the people. No, we want some kind of a representation of our own. And so Aaron in verse 2 becomes a gutless wonder and says, "So Aaron said to them, 'Take off the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters, and bring them to me.' And so all the people took off the rings of gold that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received the gold from their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool and made a golden calf and said, 'These are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of the land of Egypt.'" What an incredibly sad and heartbreaking moment for a people who were, they were making it. You wouldn't say that was an all-star effort, but they were making it at this point. And This is kind of the ultimate betrayal. This had to have utterly broken the heart of God. But even in looking at this, I kind of noticed something, and I think it tells us something about the nature of idolatry. Aaron doesn't say, "Hey, go to the treasury, go to the stuff that we've saved up so far, go to the stuff that we collected from the Egyptians when we left, and find the gold in there, and I'll melt it down." He doesn't say that. He says, "Take the rings of gold that are in the ears of your wives, your sons, and your daughters." In other words, from those things which are closest to you. And this is really, really where we need to be careful, because I think there is this human tendency, if we're going to make an idol out of something, we tend to make an idol out of something that's very, very close to us. I mean, what more beautiful relationship can there be as between wives and your children, your sons and your daughters? They can be the greatest of all earthly relationships. The gold is taken from them. It's taken from them. It's taken from these things that are closest to them. And the warning is, you've got to keep an eye on everything in your life to make sure that everything is not becoming an idol. And there's so much to be said here. It's wrong to make an idol out of your spouse, because you've actually gone that's not love anymore. That's worship. And so you've pulled away from the love relationship, and you're now in a subservient worship relationship. I've seen parents that essentially worship, that they've made an idol out of their child. Their child is going to become everything that they never had a chance to become. And their child is never going to be disciplined because, I remember how much that hurt when I was a kid, and these things go on, and people make idols out of their own children. There are so many things that we can make an idol of in our lives, and most of the time, it's something that's very close to us and very, very dear to us. Can you imagine these former slaves are wearing the gold rings of their former master? That's where the gold came from. And so what could they have possibly had in all of what they owned that would make them any prouder than that? That they would relish any more than that jewelry. And Aaron says, "Bring it here, we'll melt it down." And they allow it to happen because they're trading idolatry. Well, they're trading in for idolatry. They're trading what was real, right? Those gold earrings were an every moment, everyday symbol of the rescue that God had done and brought them out of Egypt. Right? Every time you had a little itch, every time you fiddle with your ear at all a little bit, oh yes, I remember when God set us free. And to take that precious thing and make it into an idol. This is very much what the enemy wants to do. Right? See, the enemy doesn't just want to win in your life. He wants to win and rub your nose in it. He wants to plunge the knife and he wants to turn it. And we need to understand that. So this idolatry comes from something that's, you think, I'll make an idol out of something that's over there. But no, usually that's not the case. Usually it's something that's very close to us, and because it's close to us, it becomes dear to us. And then after it becomes more dear to us than God, it becomes an idol. So we want to watch that. And then very interestingly, kind of along the same line, in verse 5, when Aaron saw this, in other words, he engraved this golden calf. And when Aaron saw this, he built an altar before it. So not only has he made this thing, but now he's built an altar to it. And Aaron made a proclamation and said, "Tomorrow shall be a feast to the Lord." Well, here's Israel. They've been given all of these feast days. I mean, it's God saying, "Hey, I love a party. I love you guys to have the opportunity to unwind and just, you can just worship me and remember what I've done, and you can enjoy yourselves. No work today, right?" And Aaron decides to declare a feast day. He declared it, not God. Okay. And so Aaron does something, we might say, extra biblical. He goes outside of what God wants. And so he has not only created this abomination, but he's built an altar to it, and now he's declared a feast day. It's as bad as it can possibly get. So that's all that we're going to say this time. Please watch the idols in your life, and the best thing is just not to have any. And we will join you again next time on Notes from the Pastor Cave. Please don't forget to like these videos. Definitely don't forget to subscribe. We're at about 130, which is great, but we'd like 330. Just tell your friends, tell your neighbors, and make sure you comment below and all of those things. We love you. Stay dry. From another episode of Notes from the Pastor Cave. And remember, Vita Brevis Gloria Eterna. Life is short, but glory is eternal.